Okay, folks, thanks for your patience. It's 7:05 on June 19th. We'll call to order this meeting of the Brattleboro Development Review Board. First, tonight we have a short board, 4 people, including 3 people for the Winston Prouty application. What we do in situations like these are we give people the option of continuing with no prejudice, or we have 2 members who have volunteered to watch the video even though they're not here and add their vote to a decision. Because we'll have 4 votes for every application, I think, except for Winston Prouty. What we generally do to try to be efficient is talk about any issues there may be with the permit, and if it looks like you'll need an additional vote, then you can wait for the video watchers to watch it. And if you can get through with 4 votes, we'll vote and the application will be approved. So with that intro, let me give my usual opening remarks. At the DRB, we hear applications for land development in the town of Brattleboro and appeals of zoning administrative decisions. Procedurally, the Development Review Board operates on the record. That means we take a clear record of testimony from the applicant and any interested parties and then issue a written decision with our findings. Applicants and members of the public should be aware that as we are on the record, this is your opportunity and probably your only opportunity to comment on and provide evidence relating to an application. If our decision is appealed to the environmental court, that court will not take new evidence or consider additional testimony at its hearing, but will look at the evidence from this hearing, the regulations or relevant law, and determine if the evidence supported our decision. Only interested persons that speak in this proceeding may appeal a decision made by the board, so I strongly recommend you participate. As we're on the record, we're going to ask that anybody who thinks there's even the slightest chance they might speak swear or affirm that their testimony will be truthful. So all the applicants need to do this, and anyone who might speak to an application, if you could raise your right hand. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the following will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Okay, did anybody not get sworn in? We're all sworn in? Okay.
Eli was scaring me a little bit there. He brought his left one up first. So.
Oh, yeah. You didn't cross your fingers? Applicants require a majority vote of the full board to succeed. That's 4 votes out of 7. If we do not have a full board present to hear your application, we will consider a request to continue. After taking testimony, the board will close the public hearing and may vote on your application. The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of the close of the hearing. While we may vote on the application, it is the written decision that controls the timeline for any appeal. It should be noted that the town of Brattleboro is a party with an interest in land development applications. The town does not have a special status before this board. Documents provided to the board by the town planning department, town attorney, or any other town department will be considered in exactly the same way as information from the applicant or any other interested parties. Mr. Bannon, has the meeting been properly warned?
Yes, it has.
I know that Mr. Annis has a conflict of interest on application 2017-56, Winston Prouty. Are there any other ex parte communications or conflicts of interest that anybody would like to disclose? Okay, hearing none. The first matter is we have to review and approve the minutes from our prior meeting, which was May 15th of 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. The first application is 2017-56, Chloe Leary for Winston Prouty. Sorry about our small board tonight. So, somebody tell us about your project.
Okay, well, this is our second time before the board, and it's the former Austin campus, which Winston Prouty purchased out of the bankruptcy estate. And the overall plan is subdivision from one entire lot to lots that are of various sizes. The existing buildings that are on the campus will all be in separate lots. The perimeters of the units, of the condominium units, will be the boundaries of the buildings, with the exception of the current president's house, which will be a 2-acre lot and will not be included in the planned unit development. That will be used for as a primary residence. And then the Wheeler house, the greenhouse that has access directly from Maple Street, that will have a separate lot and then an adjacent lot to that, so that the plan is that that may be developed as is, or more likely could be a new housing put on both of those 2 lots. Again, the other existing buildings will be separate lots, and then we'll be creating 3 other lots where we believe one of the existing tenants on the property, High Five, will be purchasing 1, probably 2 of those lots, possibly a 3rd, depending on what they do. And then the largest portion of the property will remain as common land for every unit owning a portion of that, and we will continue the public use of the trails on the property. The primary uses at the property is what we're calling mission-driven, which includes both not-for-profit and for-profits. Most of the current tenants are not-for-profits. We do have some for-profits. Those include the Bell Center, which works with autistic children, the Brattleboro Hearing Center, is that what the Brattleboro Hearing Center, which is the former audiologist that were at Austin, and there is an architect and an attorney who also have offices. We still have some vacant space. We're looking again for mission-driven mix with respect to that. Questions?
We should know, everybody here knows this, but you're David Dunn, you're speaking.
Oh,
for the
my
applicant.
apologies, Jim. Yes.
I'm just remembering. you were
David
involved.
Dunn, I'm the attorney for Winston Prouty. I'm also the chairman of the board.
Were you here for the original application?
Was not.
Okay. The amendments from the original application where you guys withdrew the request for the bank.
Yes.
Can we just go through the changes for Michael? I don't remember the other ones besides
Absolutely.
the bank.
At the first hearing, there were questions about some of the uses, hotel, motel, bed and breakfast, and bank without a drive-in facility. We had talked about those being conditional uses, and we are fine with those either being included as within the master plan but subject to separate approval as a conditional use, or being deleted from the master plan, in which case we would have to come in and get an amendment to the master plan. Either one is acceptable to us.
And the board met in executive session, and the idea that that there would have to be future applications for conditional approval was something the board all agreed on last time. We're the sole 2 members, so you're gonna have to trust us. But
That's what happened, Michael.
yeah. So anyway, I don't have any further questions. I don't know if you two do.
No, did you have a chance to read the draft decision?
We did look at the draft decision, and I had responses back to Mr. Bannon. I started to look at drafting revisions to the master plan, but then I realized I thought it would be better to wait until we had board decision either way, so that if there's any other comments we could put them in, because I think a number of the things that Mr. Bannon asked for were clarifications, and but again, knowing which way we wanted, the board wanted to go on the bank and the hotel and motel issues, we would wait on that. But we were fine with all the conditions.
Okay. Are there any members of the public, are there any further questions from the board? I'm sorry.
I think so. I think I'm set.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak to this application? Okay, well, I'll just note for the record, there were a couple of members of the public at the first hearing, and we discussed the issues, including the bank, and their objections were part of the reason that the board went to executive session and came up with this so-called, spot conditional approval idea. As a procedural matter, we have a little bit of an issue here because we only have 3 people. However, I believe both George was here last week, I remember that for sure.
He was, but at this point, it might be worth exchanging any comments of the board on email, gathering those, giving them to the applicant, and coming back for a new meeting with a revised master plan.
I mean, I think I'm fairly comfortable that there is unanimous agreement on the part of the board that the draft order is the way that we'd like it. If there are objections to the draft order, if something here creates a problem, this is a good time to talk about it.
We saw no objections at all. I guess the only thing that I would clarify was that we had requested with respect to putting the 2 electrical car chargers that we have until the end of 2018, because that will allow us to have funds available from the sale of the condominium units. And if that was, I think, the only substantive request that we had at all.
I think we can do that and still conform.
That's entirely reasonable.
Yeah, that sounds like not a big issue at all. Sometimes we're hamstrung because you can't not have them, but as long as it's following the statute at some point, we're content with it. So why don't we leave that there, and if you guys are all right with this, we will circulate by email to ensure that we have a quorum that can approve the draft decision, and then we can continue in the fashion Mr. Bannon proposed.
Okay.
Which is what I always do.
And then I'll work with Mr. Bannon on making the revisions consistent with that. I don't see any issues at all with that.
Why don't we say in the email, if there's any objections to your proposed draft, the people on the board email back within 48 hours. I really don't think that there will be, but this way, at least if 2 days pass and you don't hear anything, you can do that without having to worry that it's going to be
Okay.
wasteful.
So if that all works out, we don't need to come back in July, or we do?
I don't think they need to.
I think we need a revised master plan, which
Right.
you could sign off on. That could be a condition of the final draft.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just gonna call this a motion to continue because we are leaving this open and pending for the moment with the understanding that everything we just said applies.
Yeah. The question is really based on trying to get people who are wanting to purchase some of the
Right.
units in line and getting them ideas of what the closing dates could be.
And we can't vote on the motion to continue because we don't have a
Yes.
quorum. So we'll say this is continued for lack of a quorum, but we'll move the thing forward anyway. Terribly sorry that we don't have a full vote.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Would one of you mind telling Eric that he can, oh,
He
let's turn the hall.
didn't go far.
Sorry. I'm used to Craig's old practice.
In the hall.
Yeah.
Hey, I like to listen.
Okay, the next application is 2017-38, Jim Westbrook and Elsie Smith for William Forshun and Serenity Forsh, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Forshun.
James, I think I can present for both this one and
Shoot.
69.
Okay, so 69 is Eleanor Weiss and George Carville Joint Revocable Trust. Just before you do that, are any of the members of the public here to speak about either of those applications? Okay, fire away.
We are one of the applicants.
Oh, you are one of the
We're here if
applicants.
somebody needs us. We got one letter that said we had to be here and one letter that said we didn't, so we figured we better be here.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
And I was intending to present because these are kind of unusual situations. According to the land use regulations, if a property is subject to an Act 250 permit, even if it's a minor project, the board either has to waive its Act 250 review in a publicly warned meeting, or it has to give the approval. So there are 2 here. One is the Westbrook Forshun Smith subdivision, which was heard last meeting. It wasn't warned for Act 250, but it should have been. The subdivision won't have any impact on municipal services. It won't have any impact on educational services, and it's compatible with the municipal plan in that it allows for conservation of farm and forest lands, and it's compatible with the character of that rural residential district. The Carvel Weiss, is it Weiss? Yes. Application. It's an application for a garage. That's something that was approved administratively because it's a minor project.
So we still have to do the Act waive the Act 250.
Yeah.
And we couldn't change this even if the planning commission were willing, right?
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
So you can either waive it or you can approve it. It's not clear why Act 250 thought this project was a material change to the subdivision approval, but they made that determination for better or worse.
Does it matter if we waive or approve?
It might be better to approve it because it
Okay.
then shows the board has backed the application.
Okay, I mean, these are the types of projects that don't usually come before us.
Yeah.
Very minor changes, and in my opinion, that's appropriate. Unless anybody on the board has any questions, to move to approve both of them. It's just a matter of course.
I assume it's just as.
I hate to be the grumpy old man.
Let's just move to approve.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So a motion to approve the Act 250 application of 2017-69, Ms. Weiss and Mr. Carville, and application 2017-38, Jim Westbrook and Elsie Smith for William Forshon and Serenity Smith Forshon.
Second.
Any further discussion? You have the right to comment if you wish. Anybody else does? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes 4-0. Sorry, the state statute makes us do this. Okay, the next application is Christian Stromberg for Tim and Lucinda Cuthbertson. We received notice that they wish to have this application continued, and I'll hear a motion to continue.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and they contacted you, Brian?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Okay, finally, application 2017-82, Eli Gould for Advanced Technology Management.
Did you mention a date specific?
Oh, I just assumed the next meeting. Did I miss something?
I think you have to do it to a date specific, or we
Yeah,
have
I
to.
think they requested the next meeting, July 17th.
Okay.
July 17th.
July 17th, my birthday. It's gonna be a birthday cruise. Okay, so I'm just gonna say, let's withdraw the motion, move to continue 2017-82 to July 17th,
So moved.
okay? And second,
Second.
any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. 2017-82, Eli Gould for Advanced Technology, I'm sorry, is it advanced or advanced?
Advanced.
Advanced Technology Management. Just give me 1 second here. This is yours.
Do you need it?
No, that's for the other one. This one's the right. Okay, could you please tell us about your project?
Yeah, my name is Eli Gould. I'm a construction manager for the country club projects of Melanie Boese, who's the owner. And we brought the old clubhouse up to modern fire safety and health codes last year. In doing so, we pre-installed sprinklers throughout the building. And as Melanie has been working towards getting a viable business plan for this place, certainly being able to legally host the kind of large events that have often been there is a key part of that, and fire safety in the area where there is no town water dictates about a 15,000 gallon sprinkler reservoir, and also dictated to us to upgrade the envelope of the building enough to not have to use a lot of dry sprinklers, because it has to be single phase, otherwise it would be on-site pumps and everything else. So the The current plans for 2017, I'm gonna let Melanie speak to some of these because I'm not a golfer or haven't run a golf course, but starting with the change in footprint that basically initiated our need to come in and look at Act 250 and other site plan review. We do need more space for the sprinkler reservoir and for a service hub, and we are creating a small addition to the west of the existing clubhouse, which I'll let Melanie speak to, functions upstairs, and we're trying to get to where the sprinklers can be on. The state has made it clear that's a big priority for them. And even though it may not happen immediately pending financing, which is not an easy thing to do for an 18-hole golf course these days, we would also like to initiate the site plan review of a small pro shop, which would be up on the hill, more central to the golfing operations. So I'll let Melanie speak to the functions of both of those, and then you guys can help us improve our site plan for Act 250.
So yes, hi, I'm Melanie Boese, and I'm the owner of the Brattleboro Country Club. Golf is a $70 billion a year industry, and we are a struggling single golf course. One of the problems is that we're dependent on the weather, and we've just had the 8th most rainy May in history, and June is on target to be the rainiest one that in history. So how do you get around that, and how do you make your business more viable? And one of the things that has become quite popular is golf simulators. So golf simulators are not just for golf. They can be used for many different sports activities. Birthday parties and receptions and various other ideas we have for marketing them. Trying to help the business community in general. We've hired many local construction companies. We're really committed to working with the local industries to get this, helping other businesses is important to us. We have a big charity voice in this town. There are a lot of tournaments that are there for SEPCA, Youth Services, Rotary, a lot of places that do a lot of good work for people. We're trying to improve that also. The new pro shop, where we're located right now, the pro has no view of the golf course. So people that are coming on, with liquor licenses, you're not allowed to bring liquor onto the site. And that's something that's a little difficult for us to really be careful about, because people drive their carts up to their cars to pick up their clubs. They think it's perfectly okay for them to do that. They don't necessarily realize that. With our new footprint that we're talking about, we're looking at having a round driveway where people would actually drive up, drop off their clubs. So we would be alleviating that liability, along with Eric being able to look at who's going off and being able to keep the pace of play moving at a better play. So those are the two, the major ones that we're looking at right now. Our goal is to have a place where we can do larger events. There is really not that many places in this area that have not only the parking, but the kind of a view that we have that has become more and more popular to a lot of different, we've got a lot of weddings and receptions and things going on this year. And the business is growing slowly, but we think that this is what we need to do in order to keep it as a viable property in town.
Speaking to what I've been able to find on the site plan so far, this was when Melanie and her late husband purchased the property in 2014. It was a struggling member-owned organization that was soon to go into bankruptcy. When I look back, and luckily there are many members who are helping me do the archaeology on this, so to speak, but there were some future phases that were punted forward when they realized they were never going to build. There were some grand schemes in the past for pools and other big things that are obviously not in the works. So we've had to glean back from that some certain amount of site plan information. We have hired engineers to come in and reestablish for the satisfaction of Act 250 what the actual water and sewer capacity is on the site, so we can, that was really one of the main conditions that I saw when the members were struggling and they said, we're not gonna do phase 2. Then at that point, Act 250 said, well, when new uses come forward, or when changes happen, you'll have to bring forward new information on sewer and water capacity. Everything was professionally built, and there's certainly, you could drive around town tonight and see a lot of stormwater problems everywhere, and not right there. Now, that being said, in 1998 there was not maybe the same stormwater planning that there is now, so we may be living in some gap here that we're hoping the board can educate us about what we may have to prepare further. But we were under the hopeful impression that we could establish the sewer and water capacity, establish a satisfactory site plan without major changes, and there's obvious neighborhood support for this, and hopefully community support. We're hoping that we could go forward into Act 250 and seek an administrative amendment and do a fairly minor project going forward. But we're here to start that process with you guys.
Well, let's talk about stormwater, I guess. I think the really only issue is to satisfy the requirement, all you need to do is establish that it wouldn't increase the flow, or that if there was increased flow, that there would be something that mitigates it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, let me jump in.
Please.
First, it doesn't have an existing state stormwater permit, and because the size of the addition falls below a threshold, it won't, in all probability, be required to get one.
Oh.
It also isn't enough where it requires an engineered stormwater system under our regulations. It is large enough that the runoff from the additions has to be treated, and that can be done in a low impact design way, which basically integrates it into the landscape, so you don't have to have engineered structures.
Fabled rain garden.
Exactly, yeah.
Surrounding a putting green, is that all right?
I was curious about the buffer, where there needs to be a buffer that there isn't, because I never really, it's the first item on your memo. A planted buffer is required along the boundary. Did I mix up my memos?
I don't know.
No, I read that earlier.
When you give me that book, I get nervous, Brian.
That was kind of throughout a couple of weeks.
2017, yeah, 2781 or 82?
81.
I'm reading the wrong memo.
Okay, yeah.
Because this is a very
Okay.
internal, this is a small, this is within
No,
a
no.
property of how many acres? 170.
I'm sorry, this was the application we just continued, but I didn't get it all.
I have a
into my
quick
little
question
file.
for you.
Mhm.
Where's the 50,000 gallon tank going?
In the basement of the simulator building, and it'll be multiple tanks.
Okay.
It needs to be frost-free, it needs to be close to the sprinkler system that it's serving,
Okay.
and there is also a fairly significant challenge with water on site. There are some good wells, and there are many bad ones, and Melanie has taken on a water management resource for the actual irrigation of the fields. That's pretty impressive, but where this is going to be close to the good well, and we'll be benchmarking just how good that is.
As a kid, the Retreat Hospital used to get just about all their water off that property.
Right, right,
It's amazing.
yeah.
And there was enough for the course earlier on, I remember that. So.
Right. So yeah, how many gallons a day do you manage
Good Lord,
during a dry summer like last summer out on the field? It's 100,000 gallons.
Yeah.
How tall are the buildings gonna be?
This is a low addition. It tucks in below the eave of the 1840s clubhouse that, depending on how you average the four corners out, is probably in the 30-foot range. If you go all the way from the hip roof to the lowest point, it's probably 35, but if as the grade comes up. We would love to actually replace the porch that was taken away from past years when Melanie and Jack did the basement renovations pretty much right away when you got into the place. Before I was around, that had to add in an overhead door to get a massive volume of materials in and out. So as we do approach, we've pre-designed for some future phase to be able to put in another porch or sunroom on the east side there. So that's the tallest facade right now. The peak of our simulator building is, I believe it's 21 feet.
And the idea for the drop-off would be that it's right in front of the door there?
For the pro shop?
Yeah.
Correct. Or for the clubhouse itself.
When you were just talking about there being a drop-off for golfers so they don't end up driving back to their car?
Yeah, yep.
That's the new pro shop.
Okay. And that's kind of a kink there. There's not a lot of width. How's that gonna fit with two-way traffic also going by?
There's a small traffic circle meant to be of a scale to the golf course, which you basically would pull up to the pro shop, drop your car off. There's a few parking spaces there just for pro shop business, and then you would return your car to the parking down below. We have walked that with Len Howard. We're not trying to design this to the scale of a fire truck turnaround because it's a 1,000 square foot structure that he can pull right up next to, so he doesn't feel like he needs a fire lane per se, nor the larger turning radiuses. So we meant it to be of a scale
Oh, okay.
that would be appropriate to a small pro shop on a hill, with a lot of cart traffic there too. So.
Okay. I think I see it.
We should probably make that a little clearer with a darker line weight on that, and I do agree we need to.
So is it gonna be in front of the handicapped spaces before you get there?
Yes, you'll be able to pull up to the handicap spaces. The pro shop's going to be tucked into the crests of the hill there, so there'll be a walkout space below. There'll be handicapped access on 2 levels, and locker rooms in the basement of that. So the ADA parking spaces will be right below that.
Right, but what I'm sorry for not being clear. What I was trying to ask is where is the pickup drop-off in reference to the ADA parking spaces?
Oh, it's actually before that. The main point that the pros have taught us about is that people want to drop their bag and then get their car out of there, and they don't want to have to rehaul their bag. So the bags are dropped as close to the ongoing cart path as can be. It's kind of in a small Y there,
Okay.
where that would be dropped off.
Okay, it'll be wide enough for people to continue to get by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point though.
Okay. What are you gonna do with the snow up here?
Well, it's not open in the winter. The golf pro
Oh,
shop.
this won't be used at all for
Right.
cross country or anything like
Right.
that? Okay.
And actually, they like to groom right through. In fact, the winter use pattern has shown more than 2/3 of the parking covered in snow and as ski trails.
Yes,
Oh.
I've only played golf here, so I didn't.
Right,
Where
yep.
do people park when they do that?
The ski and snow sports stuff?
Yeah,
The lower parking lot.
Yeah.
okay, but everything
The main
else-
parking lot is where they are.
Okay, okay,
Yep.
so everything else would just remain snow covered?
Right.
And with the main parking lot, do you go down towards the interstate, I guess? Does all the
Yes.
snow go down? towards
Yeah,
that?
down to the east there.
Okay.
They actually only plow half of that because the ski trail intersects that, so.
But we'd like to be able to use more of the parking lot
Right.
in the winter time.
Right.
Is there any additional lighting going up around here? Outdoor?
No, we've actually met with the town ADA advisory group, and we had the temporary ramp we had last year that's outdoors is really not a lot of fun. So you'll notice in the design of this structure and in the front porch, which we love, having downlighting on the ramps themselves and in wide overhanging soffits is really the best way to light that space directly.
And not like
So-
street lamps, you know? put
No,
those
these
street
are just,
lights.
these are just recessed can downlights shining onto the ramps themselves. I don't,
These are in the ceiling of the building, though.
yeah, and the overhangs of the building shining straight down on the ramps.
Right, okay. What are you gonna do with the chiller building?
The chiller building is just a small 18-foot square hip roof building, which was made obsolete. It was full of some really vintage chiller equipment.
I don't
And
even know what a chiller is, so maybe we should start there.
yeah, we put in a new walk-in cooler this year, which is
Oh,
basically
okay.
for cooling vegetables. And that replaced a series of,
1960s
you know,
Okay.
freezers that are in that we refer to it as the chiller building because it's where there was a walk-in cooler in there that they had taken out of a store and rebuilt into not very energy efficient, and a few, freezers and what have you.
Okay.
so rather than just doing demo, we did think that maybe there was a charitable way to help the outing club, and actually because a lot of people confuse the outing club with the country club, it might be helpful to tell them about how you have supported them and how you host them there.
So yeah, the outing club is a completely separate entity from the Brattleboro Country Club. They pay us a nominal fee each year, and they are responsible for doing all the trail work, and all of that is done by them. And I would say primarily it's all volunteer. They usually have one person in the pro shop that takes money, and there's a lot of the local schools that come in for their winter activities, and the Brattleboro High School team does their training there. So there's someone in the office most of the time to make sure that all of that goes smoothly.
So given the multiple parties here, when we had the idea to do something charitable and not demo that building and set it as a shed for their use, we haven't totally connected with them and the groundskeepers who
Oh, so like a warming hut?
yeah, tickets and warming and
They have a lot of rental equipment that they have to find somebody's barn to put it away for the winter. So if they had a building of their own, they could actually store all their things there.
Where is this chiller building? I've been
Yeah,
to the country club many times, and
If you're facing the building, where you used to go in on the left by the bathrooms,
Uh-huh.
there's a little building right there. It's got a weather vane on the top of it.
no.
So it's only, maybe 10 feet?
yeah,
From
18. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's just 10 feet off the
So
building.
it's not on this
So
diagram.
the proposed addition's gonna eat that up.
Exactly.
It
We're
will
gonna
take
be,
that space
yeah,
and
I
we,
got it.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
rather than demoing the building, we'd like to,
But most likely location, which we will submit on the final site plan, will be to the east of the parking lot, up above the maintenance shed there as the closest place and the most convenient for the winter use of the place.
Would it be kind of in line with the maintenance building?
Yeah, yeah.
And that is the area of the lot that's plowed out for those fellows.
Right.
Let's see. Is there gonna be some, I realize this is somewhat unlikely, but is there gonna be something to prevent some person backing up from the handicap spots from going onto the practice green? Is the fringe, or let me put it a better way, is the fringe of the practice green gonna go right up to the pavement, so you're gonna have somebody behind where those guys are backing up, potentially?
That's a good question. We may have to ask one of the top golfing pavers, who's also a contractor on this, about how that might work best. Would it be
I mean,
a recommendation to have curbing there, or
That's what I was
landscaping, or
thinking.
yeah?
Curbing, or maybe a sign, just, something so that somebody who's careless doesn't accidentally run over grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Or landscaping.
Or
Right.
landscaping,
Yeah.
like a hedge.
Landscaping would be nice than a curb,
Right.
I think.
That's true.
But
That's true.
we would prefer not to actually do the putting green right there. I think Melanie would prefer, but the membership is really eager for it, so we've labeled it as a potential or future putting green.
Oh, okay.
It would be a convenient spot, but it's a lot of input and maintenance, and there are putting greens right nearby as well. So
Well, I think that would be, we could say something that the zoning administrator approves, but if there's a practice green there, that there be some type of thing to prevent.
there you go. That sounds great.
You know, vehicle pedestrian crash.
So you're gonna come back next month with them?
Yeah, we have become aware of some things, and I have a few questions which maybe can help us, hone in on those, as we're not necessarily Act 250 experts, and the process has changed since this property went forward. So, the electric car charging, is that actually a required element of all new projects with?
State statute. There have been projects where we've said the board has no desire to have electric car charging.
This might be one of those, but
This property isn't any different than the other ones we've talked about, is it? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a golf cart charger that can do double duty as a car charger. That's the best I
Yeah,
can
well,
do.
funny, last fall, my commitment was that I was going to have electric carts by this spring, until
Oh,
I
right,
started
yeah.
looking at the batteries, and 6 batteries per cart for 50 carts, have to be replaced every 3 to 4 years. Where do those batteries go?
I'm
and-
sorry, I forgot that they were gas. I didn't mean to
Yeah,
twist the
so-
knife there.
well, we actually were, we were considering it, but it's not necessarily as green as one might hope sometimes.
Well, I mean, what the last applicant did was we delayed the requirement, and I don't think that there's any violation of the statute if we delayed. So if you wanted to delay it for 2 years, say, I mean, I doubt that that's gonna make or break the project, but if it's helpful, I think the board would probably be fine with that. I don't speak for everybody.
Well,
Do you have to have 3-phase power for those? I don't.
No, but
There's
there,
a whole variety.
there is an I mean, what about situations where the electrical capacity is limited, or what about, I mean, how do people handle, is there maybe you can refer me to the statute itself so that I know how many and what the amperage is meant to be.
Yes, so for class 2 charger, it's 50 amperes and it's 220 service.
And they don't have to put it there. I mean, they could put those down in other areas.
Wherever on the property would be
Yeah,
convenient.
it doesn't have to be near the new construction, it's just,
I think that should go actually over by the maintenance and new ski hut, actually. That might be better anyway. Because,
but I mean, we'll give you a leeway, as long as you conform to the statutory requirements. I mean, we can't violate the law, but
right.
we'll give you plenty of leeway on where they are and when they go in. I had one more question. I'm sorry to hammer you on the handicap parking spaces here, but it looks to me like if a vehicle is in the right space, if it's backing up, it's going to be crossing the entrance to the pro shop.
Mm-hmm.
And if those spaces could be adjusted, if the position could be adjusted slightly so that a normal turn would occur without going where people are walking.
Yeah.
Seems to me that would be a bit safer and not much more work.
Duly noted.
Oh, you mean if they weren't at that angle?
Angle change,
Yeah.
placement change, it doesn't look that steep. I mean, I think there are quite a few options, but it's just a little tight there.
Yeah. So, though this is sketch plan, though we're gonna submit a revised site plan, do you guys feel like you have enough information to look at the local Act 250 impacts on this date? Because as we do move forward, that would be important for us to have in our.
Probably. Brian, were there any areas where you were concerned that the information was insufficient to make a determination on the Act 250 factors?
No. The impact on town services will be minimal, but they'll actually be improved because of the improvement in fire safety. So
Right.
that's definitely something that's positive. Impacts on education should be de minimis, and it's really entirely compatible with the town plan.
The golf pro can see the golfers, the education's gonna go up.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that seems not problematic at all. And unless there's other people who disagree, I think we're prepared to go forward on that.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you a couple more questions?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there's gonna be any change in how many spaces you're gonna need because of the addition?
One
Or do
would
you think you
hope,
have the
but I
capacity?
have, but I have
That's a
no.
dream.
There's such adequate parking there that even under the largest tournaments that I've ever seen there, there's adequate for everybody. So there's only 2 golf simulators. There's cafe seating for essentially you could have 2 parties sitting there, 4 each perhaps,
Mhm.
but really the impact of that is going to be fairly minimal in terms of traffic.
Do you know how many spaces there are currently?
I would have.
We were
They're
just
not.
talking about
Yeah,
that.
they're not striped to. It's been repaved. I think we would have to provide a calculated and then a standard size estimate, a square foot allotment to give you a proper estimate. But Melanie's under the impression it's about 300 from a past study.
And part of that is kind of an overflow situation, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
There's
not-
two levels to the
Right.
parking lot.
What do we do in situations where there is an overflow? I can't remember that ever coming before the board. You just consider it all in the lot?
Yeah, I mean, typically if it were a new site plan, you would just have it done on some sort of green paving, but
Mm-hmm.
the parking which was built looks like it lines up directly with with a proposed plan for a much larger facility there. That in the location of this 1,000 square foot pro shop had a 5,000 square foot new clubhouse and pool and tennis courts. So it looked like they did the site work for that, which is why with our existing conditions we really didn't go too far to try and parse that. But we should definitely provide a more accurately measured as built in regards to modern parking size for the next round.
Those are my questions. Do other people on the board have more questions, concerns?
No, did you have more questions for us?
Well, just to help educate us a little bit, in your experience, we have provided bike provisions, and I think there is a growing biking community in town here. I do wonder if there's any way that the bike charging for the electrical bikes, is that ever used in lieu of or in concert to vehicle charging?
I don't think it would work because I had this weird DUI case involving an ATV once, and there's a statutory definition of a vehicle,
Okay,
and it has to be bigger than an ATV.
okay.
So I mean, I'm shooting
Right.
off the cuff from something I read
Yeah.
2 years ago, but I think it has to be
Right.
a more sizable vehicle.
But Act 250 does treat with making provisions for bike storage and for bike racks, correct? And so as we do that, are there criteria that we need to be aware of?
I think we're gonna want you to have a bike rack.
We do have one.
Oh, you do have
Yeah.
one? That's the only one that really comes up consistently, is to
Mhm.
have a bike rack. It's funny, the bike charging is kind of this gray area that I don't think the legislature
Right.
has really dealt with yet, because they're more interested in
Do you need more than a plug?
electric vehicles and road safety for
Yeah,
bikes.
I think it is. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, because I'm
Yeah.
thinking, we have golf boards and they just plug into regular electricity. I didn't know if the
Yeah.
bikes
I
were
know
different.
there are conforming car chargers that are not that much different from a conduit with power going on, aren't there?
Yeah.
yeah, there are a couple different types. There's class 1, which is you can actually just do from 110 power, and I think it's something like 20 amps, so just an ordinary outlet would run that, but it also takes a really long time to get anywhere. So it's not really useful for your clients. Class 2, you could actually get a little bit of a charge going in your car over the course of playing a game.
But a class 1, if they want to do the absolute minimum to satisfy the statutory standards, I think you can basically run a conduit and have an outlet up there.
You actually need an appliance to conform with our regulations,
Okay.
which really isn't much more elaborate. It just has the cord with the
Yeah, no, that's fine, we're in favor.
charging end.
The ADA requirements are treated pretty carefully by the state fire marshal, but I also think that the volunteer committee you have does a great job coming out and talking about what would make their friends and family in wheelchairs really comfortable at the place. So we expect this to be well beyond requirements on that front. One of the other reasons to add on to, or one of the other uses within the new addition is going to be to add new and more ADA bathrooms to the first floor of this, and to get the locker rooms off the second floor. So I think I think this has been educational. We know that we will have some more questions after we get our water and sewer engineering done, but we expect that to all be on the plan when we come back.
Great.
So the simulator basement's gonna be accessible, right?
It's accessible to fire personnel and staff, and it's not a public area, but it does have a 7-11 stair going down to it that has to be fire rated. So once the sprinklers run, they run until the reservoir is empty, and that pump has to be turned off by the first responders. So we have to provide a outdoor direct access for them to that. But it's not meant to be a publicly accessible space.
Anything else?
No.
So we can move to approve the application for the Act 250. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Second.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. And you'll come back for site plan?
Yes. Now, would it be possible that that's going to be a resubmittable site plan that doesn't have to be a full public hearing, or should we plan on coming back for the public hearing in case there's more input from?
Well, it depends. I'm not, what do you have in mind?
Well, we are going into the Act 250 process now, getting some counsel on that, and do expect that their criteria will yield some of the same more details which we've been trying to get hammered out here. So if we submitted that with adequate time for you all to review, and there was nothing new or controversial on it, then it could be something potentially that you could have for administrative approval after that. But if you feel like it should be a public
So you
hearing.
mean, if we were to approve your application, then you go up to Act 250, and they say we want you to change X, Y, Z, do you have to come back to us?
Right.
Depends what they want to change, right? What would they have to come back for?
I don't know. If you do a conforming application for us, it should be fine for Act 250.
Okay. There you go. Don't ask me, ask him.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
So that's the end of that application. Thank you for coming. Sorry
If you
about
guys
our
want to
small
continue
board.
the hearing until next month, and if you guys are ready, then you can come back. Otherwise, it could just get.
Oh, yeah, we should have a motion to continue. Sorry.
I'll make a motion to continue.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And friendly amendment, that was to July 17th?
That's correct.
Yeah, right. Okay. Motion
Thanks,
passes
guys.
4-0.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
Any other matters?
Nope. Oh,
Yeah, what are we
I
doing
need to leave
next?
this on first.
What are we doing next month?
What are we doing next? Do we have 4 or 5 people who applied to join the DRB that we're gonna be discussing, or? I applied.
Yep.
Was I the only one?
Catherine also reapplied, David has not, so,
Oh, really?
yeah, I don't know if he intends to, or,
He said he did,
Yeah.
as an alternate.
Wasn't he past the deadline?
no, I'll check.
Could you shoot an email tonight, or tomorrow, early, just to make sure?
You might miss some.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, take care.
Is Georgia?
No.
No.
I like the idea of street summonses, you know,
Yeah.
just like for drawing juries.
Yeah. Are we serious about this cruise?
Sure.
Okay, we're going on a cruise afterwards.
So it's gonna be a quick meeting,
Okay.
so you keep the agenda as short as possible.
Mhm. Sounds good.
Where do
I
we
mean-
go,
Short.
where do we go after the meeting?
5 minutes.
It's the marina.
Okay.
And, actually, if I do it right, I'd get up steam before we go and just let it cool down, so it would just take a couple of minutes to bring it back up.
Perfect.
So,
So it's at the marina?
yeah, keep it, right, almost under the, Putney Road Bridge, but it's by the boat ramp at the marina, so. Go to the boat ramp, veer left, keep going. If you hit the bridge, you've gone too far. Boat's on the right,
Okay.
so.
Do we have any administrative matters?
Is anybody going to that training on Thursday?
I got grievances all week.
I didn't file one this year.
Would've shut you
No,
down
you're,
anyways.
I have a different training.
I was thinking about going, but my daughter wants to come and take us out to dinner Thursday night, so I think I'd rather
There
go
you
out
have
to
it.
dinner than go to training,
Do-
sorry.
Do we have a way to get the materials?
I'll check.
Maybe we could get you the materials and you could look at
Yeah.
it.
I was just curious.
Make a
Anything else?
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn is on the table.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.